talk about real speaking in what I think is an increasingly fake world. Now, we all love our social media, or maybe we don't. Maybe we all tolerate our social media. We all need websites. We all need the digital space. We know that. But human connection, as messy as it gets, it will be endlessly more sticky for the mind than anything you ever see on a screen. Put your hand up if you know someone in here today from like real life. You know someone from real life. Okay. Can you imagine where you met that person first? So maybe it was like Lincoln Business Club, Grand Business Club, maybe you worked with them. Yeah? Okay. Now, can you think about the first post you saw from that person? Even what platform it was on? Because we don't remember that stuff, do we? That is irrelevant. But if you've met someone in real life, there's so much else going on, isn't there? There's the venue and all the people you met at the same time, whether it was a city, whether it was rural, whatever. There's so much going on that is incredibly sticky. I'm going to explain why in just a second. But there's another reason why this is becoming super important. And that's this. So as much as I love the Trump baby, the world leader baby videos, which are epic, there's a very dark side to all of this, isn't there? And the stats are something like 9 out of 10 of us nowadays are afraid, are really quite concerned about deepfakes and fraud. Anyone afraid about deepfakes and fraud? And there's a really dark side, of course, which I won't mention tonight, but you know, there are some very, very bad things going on with this technology. Very, very good things as well, and it's amazing. What it's doing for us is amazing. But this is one of the reasons why in-person, actual, real life, you know, messy connection is incredibly important. This is me out networking. This was a lovely event that Paul ran at the Reading Room in Grantham. And this, no, it's not a wedding. This, believe it or not, was the lovely Lincolnshire Marketing Awards. These are networking events. These are business events. I know all of these people in the business space. This is hugely sticky. We're not going to forget this in a hurry, are we? I keep these pictures by my desk, they're lovely. You don't forget something like that in a hurry. So me now, with these people and all the other people that are there that night, we have this connection going. And now if I see their posts or whatever, I absolutely trust those posts. If you meet in real life first, the digital's flipping brilliant, yeah? But because of the deep fake stuff now, it's becoming incredibly hard to start digitally. Yes, and I think that's a big change. 5-10 years ago, you could build up a really good business just through social media. Yeah. It's getting harder and harder now because of the voice cloning, the video. You basically can't believe what we see online. We wanting more and more and more to see real people in a real room. Now the brain is constantly filtering all sorts of sensory information, you know, loads of stuff just to keep me upright like this and not falling over. My brain is thinking about whether I'm hungry, whether I'm tired, you know, or whether I'm in pain, all of this sort of stuff. But it's also filtering in my sort of cognitive, my conscious brain for what matters. Now, how does the brain decide what matters? How many of us can flick on the Instagram?
The Instagram.
For 10, 15, 20 or more minutes, and your partner or something comes in and goes, what are you looking at? And you're like, I don't know actually. Yeah? How much wasted, I won't go on about wasted time, but oh my God, guys, how much time have we wasted on this? We can't even remember it. And that's because the vast majority, maybe 90% of what we're flicking past has no relevance to us. It doesn't matter to us actually. If it's interesting or fun, we might process it in the moment, and then it's gone. Absolutely gone. Within a few minutes it's gone. You know, if I said to Jane, what were you looking at on TikTok last week? She'd look at me like, how am I supposed to remember that? Exactly. If I said, you know, who did you meet at networking last week, or who came into clinic last week, she'd be able to tell me those things. There are certain things that the brain filters for. One is self-relevance. Now, when you are with people, this is just automatically relevant to you because you are physically in this space, okay? So the brain automatically makes this matter. You will remember all of this. You will remember the heat, the sandwiches. You'll remember the talks tonight, new people that you've met. You'll remember all of this stuff because it's relevant to you. Novelty and fun. New people or people that you know, endlessly novel and fun. When you meet a new person, you've got like how they move, how they talk, what accent they have, what they do in their life. You get those small world moments, don't you, where you suddenly like find you grew up on the same street as somebody or something. There's all of this stuff going on, hugely novel, hugely fun, just being in a room with other people. Flipping brilliant. And the third one is emotion and meaning. Now again, you automatically attach emotion to human connection. Even if you're talking to someone and they are boring your socks off, you're still experiencing emotions. It is pretty much impossible to talk to another human, to look them in the eye and converse with another human and not experience emotions. Now, as soon as you experience emotions, the brain creates meaning and the brain creates memory. So these things, all instant with in-person stuff, really hard to create with social media. And this is why we have people like Hannah, because Hannah knows that a good post is hitting this stuff. Yeah, so that's what the social media and the advertisers and all these kind of people are trying desperately to do all the time. They're trying to do this stuff. But we can just walk into a room and it all happens magically. Speaking live creates experience, not just exposure. People that look at you online, as I say, we need it. We all need social media. We all need a good website, obviously. And that is very often the exposure we need. I think more and more people are sort of checking up on us, aren't they? Like if they meet you, they want to check that you're not like flashing the pan, you know, that you have been working in that industry for 10 years, whatever. So that's what they'll use the social media for, which is fine. But it really is sort of just exposure. When you speak to someone, you get to experience them. And experience of somebody creates certainty and trust. It's the old thing we used to teach kids, didn't we? How to shake a hand and look someone in the eye. They don't seem to teach it anymore. It's still as important as it used to be, but they don't seem to teach it. You need to be able to shake someone's hand, look them in the eye, don't you? Because this is how trust evolves. This is how we meet people and we trust them. It also does this really, really, really fast. The social media stuff is something, is it 11/7, it's like 11 touch points or something over 7 platforms. This does this instantly. You will have an opinion of me, the people that don't know me, you will have an opinion, you know, probably have an opinion of me after 0.7 seconds, but you will have an opinion of me after this talk that will last you for years. You won't need to see me in person again for a long time. You've seen enough, you'll have seen enough of me. But do you know what I mean? You've seen me move, you've seen me talk, you've seen me interact with other people, you've seen me that I know certain people in this room already. That creates trust because you know that I'm embedded in this community here in Grantham. So that again, you know, that's sort of a tick in the box that you will be filing away without really thinking about it. So if you say, yes, Kaffy, I'm convinced, okay, I'm going to do more live speaking. What are your opportunities? So we've got the one-to-one opportunities, and these are just as important. If you're someone that just thinks, I never, ever, ever want to do public speaking, I mean, I could get you there, but that's okay. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. This stuff is really, really important too. We've got networking. We've got going to conferences and exhibitions where you're going to meet maybe, you know, peers or colleagues or whatever. We've got business clubs. We've got a very lovely business club here in Grantham, lots around as well. Even things like discovery and sales calls, this is kind of public speaking. A lot of the time when you're having these conversations, you might not think of it that way, but these aren't social conversations. These are professional conversations. You are speaking in public, you are representing your business, you're representing your brand, and it all has to align. In the one-to-many space, if you're lucky enough to be of the kind of profile, radio and TV, if you've got that kind of profile, brilliant. Maybe live podcasts. Maybe you can speak at conferences and exhibitions in your sector. Maybe you can speak at business clubs. Most of the local business clubs have like a 10-minute slot, a 20-minute slot. These are ideal places to speak. You can also go live on social media. You can go live on these different platforms. And all of these have the same effect, that people are experiencing you in real time. And this is going to be increasingly important. As I say, going live on social media or doing a live podcast, you might say, oh, well, that's a 2D screen, Kaffy. Yes, it is. But the fact that you are live changes it because you cannot have edited that. You can't have cut out the bit where you accidentally swore at somebody. You can't get all of your bite-sized bits out of an hour and make it sound like you're an incredible, just soundbitey speaker in the 3 minutes that you edit it down to. If it's live, people get you in real real time. And actually the live platforms, you can interact as well. So you can have comments, you can answer questions live, all that kind of thing. And this is showing people how you think in real time. And this is a massive, massive trust builder. Compare that to a static post or a video that's been edited. But do you know what I mean? The level of trust there is so, so different. So all of these things are enabling people to experience you, not just your real-time thinking, but also just you as a person, like how you move and how you talk. These are really important things to us. We are, as is often said, we have very ancient wiring. In the modern world, we have very ancient wiring. Well, going right back, it's like caveman days. We were assessing people and their safety and their usefulness, their value to us, by the way that they spoke and used their faces and moved around. Like, our brains are still doing that all the time. You're doing it without realizing it. Have you ever met someone and you thought, I don't like you? Do you know what I mean? And you can't put your finger on it, but you just think, I don't like you. And you sort of back away, and sometimes they come back towards you and you're like, that kind of thing. And it's because you can't necessarily rationalize it, but your brain is making so many assessments all the time. So there may have been signals in something that they said or the way that they moved that your brain goes, no, we're not happy with this, we're not safe here. And then you get a feeling. You don't consciously think that, but you get a feeling. Always trust your gut feeling. Always trust your gut feeling. Your gut feeling is your brain. So if you think, yay, we're going to do all of these things, Kaffy, where should we start? Start with networking. This is the lovely Grantham Business Club. Ooh. Yes, there should be natural applause for the Grantham Business Club. Yay. We love the Grantham Business Club. So as I've said, these are hitting the self-relevance, the novelty and the emotions straight away. Now my challenge to you, I'm guessing all of you do quite a lot of networking all the time. Are people just being exposed to you, or are they experiencing you? Are you dialing it in? Are you arriving late and leaving early? Are you doing what you have to do, which is, you table network, you 10 seconds, you table networking, mumbling at the mic, then you table networking, and then you go and get a cup of coffee, maybe speak to someone that you know, and go back to the table, and then you're like, right, okay. Are you dialing it in, or are you turning up and letting people experience you? So many people view the 10 seconds as basically their price of networking. So they'll do it because they flipping have to. But other than that, they just want to do like the one-to-one networking. Now my challenge to you, and please challenge anyone you meet who's like that, that's such an opportunity. You can hit the self-relevance, the novelty, the emotion in that 10 seconds. You get that 10 seconds right, and forever and a day, everyone in that room that sees your social media goes, oh, that's Rob, I saw him the other day at the business club. It sounds so obvious, but people just don't do it. So take that mic, look around the room, say, hi, I'm Kaffy, this is what I do. That's all you need to do, that's all you need to do, sit back down again, but just let them hear your voice, let them see a bit of movement. You've hit all of these things, because you've been relevant to them, you've been novel because you've actually looked at people a bit. That's novel in most business rooms, isn't it? You've actually looked at people. And you've hit the emotion, because if you sit with a nice sort of resonant voices do hit our emotions. We love resonant voices. So you can hit that really, really, really fast. It's the equivalent of like 100 posts more, just that 10 seconds. So do not waste that 10 seconds. Next one is public speaking. Which is to say, you don't have to do it, but you hit all of these things again, naturally, because, I'm a real person speaking. There's a few other things as well. The first is nuance. Now, I could put out a zillion posts about what I'm talking to you about tonight, but the way that I tell you, and because look at me, I'm getting hyped about networking, yeah? So you know how I feel about things. You know the nuances around. It's not just the words that I'm saying. It's the everything around the way that I am speaking and communicating with you. The shared self. This is really important. And I know a lot of people are afraid of public speaking. And this is why. Because public speaking is vulnerable. Okay, so I'm here. You're there. You are the tribe. You are the community. You're all quite safe right now. I am unsafe because I could say something which I don't know, could offend somebody, could upset somebody, could lower my social status in your eyes. This is a very vulnerable place to be, but that is why, and I applaud Paul, as I've said to him, for setting this up to encourage more speaking. That is why this is so important. Because when we speak like this to a group, when we step out of the tribe and we say, you know, I've got an idea, I want to share it with you. This is sharing something of ourselves. This is such a human connection thing. And we all benefit from that. All of us in this room. But you recognize that all three speakers here tonight are being vulnerable in front of you. And you appreciate that. And you naturally want the speaker to succeed because you recognize that. You probably haven't consciously processed it like that, but you do. Your brain recognizes that. The next one is the intention. You could hear the same talk done in a salesy manner, done in a persuasive manner, done in an inspirational manner, a motivational manner. Like, people can say the same things and the intention behind them can be completely different. And again, that's something that you only really get from the spoken voice. Sometimes it's very difficult. Well, very good copywriters can do it. Very good copywriters can be very clear about their intention, which is why we still need human copywriters. Park that. But when we are speaking, it's possible for us to really show our emotions, our intention, our purpose in that room. And the last one is that this is something which is experienced in community. And this is really, really, really important. If when I go and sit down, the person next to you goes, God, she went on a bit, didn't she? That will colour your view of what I did. If I sit down, the person next to you goes, God, Kaffy's so interesting, isn't she fascinating? Then that again will colour what you think. If you go to the cinema, if you watch a funny film, if everyone's like in raucous laughter, you will be in raucous laughter as well. And you leave that cinema going, God, that was like the most hilarious film I've ever seen. If you're in the same film and people are sort of like, then you come out and you're like, yeah, it was funny, yeah, it was good, yeah, it was funny. But you're not like, that was brilliant, because we are so influenced by the people around us. And again, I applaud Paul for doing this, because I know that all of these audiences, now and in the future, will be friendly audiences. Because of the way he's marketing it, the people that come here are going to come with an intention to support and to experience something together. And that is incredibly special. Now, people say to me, it's all right for you, Kaffy. You're really confident. I could tell you about my stage fright, but I'm not going to do that tonight. But people say, you're confident, I'm not confident. I wouldn't know what to say. I don't have anything to say. People say to me things like that all the time. I couldn't do public speaking. No, God, what would I say? You get these physical, like, don't you? And I think the problem is that over the years, we have come to a very narrow view of what public speaking actually is. There is no one way to speak. Public speaking is for everyone. There is no one way to speak. Say it.
There is no one way to speak.
Public speaking is for everyone.
Public speaking is for everyone.
Exactly. These are just some of the examples of the types of things you could do as a public speaker. It's roughly on a scale, but it's not really a scale. But if we start off with the super polished full-length keynote, very, very few people do these. This is a fully memorized, scripted, it's like the Olympic sport speaking, incredibly hard work. We've got the polished shorts like the TEDx, so that's a very structured process going through that. You get an idea approved, that idea cannot change. And once you get to a certain point, the words can't change either. And you do it in exactly the same way, all the way through to the performance. The whole thing is very, very structured. But I think it's brilliant. And obviously as a sort of a worldwide phenomenon, it's got some amazing ideas out there in the world. And quite rightly, some of the TED Talks are, watched again and again on YouTube by millions of people. Brilliant. That's a very specific thing. Conference speeches are often read from lecture. They're often read, or political speeches. They're often read. They'll be written. There are speechwriters. Believe it or not, because I know Kia doesn't sound very fluent. Believe it or not, someone writes all these speeches for him. Can't believe it. But there have been some brilliant, brilliant political speeches over the years. Brilliant. And they are written by usually small teams of speechwriters. And obviously there's a way to read a speech. There's a way to read it. We've got seminars, obviously usually educational presentations. This is a presentation. It's structured. None of this is scripted, but it's not off the cuff either because I'm tied to this. So this is a structured presentation, but I'm literally, as you can tell, making up the words as I go along. We've got briefings, we've got short informal talks, so like the business club 10 minutes, and then we've got the ones with more interactions as well. Who thinks they could do one of those? Go back. Who thinks they could do something on that? Yeah, it's not that hard, is it? But people still say to me, "Oh well, yeah, I could probably do a presentation, Kaffy, but I don't know what to say. I've got nothing to say. No one would want to hear from me. What would I talk about?" Well, again, I think we've got a very narrow view of what speaking is. These are just some of the things. Stories, your business story, business journey, personal stories, even stories that have happened to other people. I've heard perfectly good talks about sports people, or musicians. People can talk about other people. Lists, top 10 ways to X and Y. Metaphors, comparisons, analogies. Frameworks. Frameworks very often turn into acronyms. So Steve Judge has his golden gang, his gold acronym. He has a framework and an acronym. Who thinks they could perhaps write a little talk around one of those things? Yeah, not that hard then. Types of talk. We've got the purely educational. We've got the persuasive, either a sort of sales pitch or like a fundraising kind of thing, be persuasive. Thought leadership. There's a lot of thought leadership around AI at the moment. A lot of people talking about AI. This is sort of leading us. This is the big picture stuff that we're not aware of. Or a new perspective, something like that. Inspirational, very often around a life story, and motivational. I would say that Steve Judge's sort of is between these two. Obviously it's inspirational, but because he didn't stop at his story, he went into a framework and an acronym which applies to all of us in the audience. I'd say it's somewhere in between. Who thinks they could maybe do one of those? Yes. Do you see? Do you see? There is no one way to speak.
There's no one way to speak.
Public speaking is for everyone. Yes, it is. So what I would like to see is a bit of a broadening of this concept, not just for yourselves, but if you have children, if you have apprentices, if you have employees. Oh, school. Sorry, just singing a song. Yes, please try and get this message out. Public speaking is a very broad church. It is not just one thing. I think people have come to equate public speaking with the TEDx movement. It's not that. And that is not for everybody. It's for everybody. It's for everybody, okay? Please get that message out. So if you're thinking, all right, Kaffy, all right, have a break, have a Kit Kat. You're convinced. Who thinks, yeah, all right, I'm a bit convinced? Anybody? Oh, good. Thank you, guys. You're thinking, but where to start? I will always tell people to start with being their real selves. Being their real selves in public. This is why my program is called Real. I'll explain that in a bit of a second, but this is super important to me. Because I think if we showed up as our real selves in public more, I think if the quieter people showed up as their real selves in public more, the world might not be in quite as much of a mess as it is in. So this is really, really important to me. And this is why I would say everybody should start. Because if you can be your real self in public, and those of you who know me quite well in real life know, this is me, like this is what I'm like. I may be moving a little bit more than I would if I was like stood with a coffee cup, but generally, yeah. But generally, this is me. This is exactly what I talk like all the time. I had to work quite hard. As I say, I have a history of stage fright and anxiety around performance. So in a sense, I still have to work quite hard. But I value it. So it's so important to me that I have worked to be my real self in public. Some of you know that I sing. So when I sing, I actually sing as under a different name. That is the extent to which I'm not stagey in my life. So I sing under the name Melody Flight. And if you ever see me sing, you'll know that's quite a different personality. When I speak, I definitely speak just as myself. Now the reason for that is this. Who remembers this?
Yes. Oh, good, yes. No.
This is the Cambridge Latin course. Anyone do Latin at school?
Yes. I was going to say Mama Massa.
Yes. Very good, very good.
Straight over the top.
All of the languages and
If you did Latin at all, and you probably didn't, because the education in this country's got to stop, but if you did Latin at all, you probably did this. This was called the Cambridge Latin course, and it was the opposite of the Omoa Masamat that people were taught. Yeah, that people were taught historically. It was a reading course. And the idea, it's a great course actually, and the idea was to make it super accessible to people. So it's a reading course. You know, Caecilius is in the study, Metella is in the hall. You can imagine that the next ones are all in this format, so you're only having to learn like one word as you go along, and there's a picture. And obviously this is the first book. It did get a little bit more complicated than this, but it's a reading course. So as you were going through it, and you were like learning about the Romans, and if you did this book, you'll know that the first book ends with, so you've just got to know all these characters in year 7, right? End of year 7, chapter 12, what happens in Pompeii? They all die in the volcano. Yes, yes.
I was absolutely mortified because the slave gets released and they don't believe him.
I know. Some people were probably devastated by the death of Caecilius and Metella in Pompeii. But anyway, it's a reading course. You learn it as you go along. It's great. Now I did Latin all the way through to A level. My school wasn't particularly traditional, so at A level, although there was an option to put stuff into Latin, we didn't do that. We did the extra literature. I, like everyone else, became very adept at. You learn all the vocabulary, and you learn to recite the hard bits, and then you went in the exam and you'd be like, oh, it's that bit, and then you'd scribble down the bit that you'd memorised. Like, I really wasn't very good at Latin at all. Didn't realise it because that's the way we were taught to do it. Now, I went to university. In the first week of university, I was given a piece of Machiavelli to put into Latin. And I can't tell you what it's like to be given a piece of Machiavelli in like really old-fashioned language. And they say, oh, you know, we need that by Friday. You're like, I didn't know where to start. Basically, like you guys, didn't know where to start because I had no understanding of the actual language. I'd only learned it in sort of dribs and drabs. Most of it was memorized, didn't understand it. So I realized really, really fast that I needed to go back and basically do this again. And despite having an A at A level, and this was obviously a long time ago before A star, so I had like the top grade at A level. I was put into one of the top language classes because we had language classes for the first 2 terms every day. And I actually went to them and said, I don't understand this. Can I please, you know, can I go back down? So they put me into what was the equivalent of the GCSE language classes. And to go back, learn the components of the language, how everything fits together. And I had to work really hard. It was worth it. It's a beautiful language. It was worth it. But that's what I had to do. I think we teach speaking like the Cambridge Latin course. I think people pick it up as they go along. I think nobody ever thinks about it. Even when the government brought in this recent oracy, this oracy thing, there is nothing in that programme, for example, about the physical voice. It's, you know, it's still all about, you know, sort of debating lines and stuff. There's nothing about communicating as your real self. There's nothing about the voice as an instrument. It's incredibly complicated, the human voice. There's nothing about that. So even when they do something which they haven't done for God knows how long, they've not done it completely. As a society, we're doing speaking like the Cambridge Latin course, and it's not sustainable. Speaking is a hugely complex cognitive, emotional, and physical activity. It's this whole thing. It's your thoughts, your emotions, and your physical state. This whole thing is involved. Humans are the only creatures with a low enough larynx and a long enough pharynx to produce speech sounds. So animals, you have barks, you have yelps. None of them have language. We are unique that we have language. We're so fortunate. Speaking is made up of these things. What you mean? What is the intention of your mind? Because it doesn't always come out, does it? What was your intention before you said that thing? What did you mean? What did you really mean to say? How you speak. The whole thing. Your voice tone. All the lovely stuff Grace was talking about. The vocal variety. The pauses. Am I sounding, you know, really nurturing and heart-led? Am I sounding like super excited and breathy? Whatever it is, how you speak has a real impact. Because again, you see, you're processing all of this stuff at a much deeper level than words. How you feel. Your thoughts, your emotions, your physical state are one thing. They cannot be separated. If you think about something you've got to do tomorrow that you don't want to do, you immediately go, oh, don't you? We tense up. And similarly, if you are tense in your body, you'll be tense in your mind. This is why when people start getting defensive like this, it just gets worse. Because they take some criticism or whatever, they feel really defensive, and suddenly their thoughts and their emotions are tightened up as well. And what you say, the words, the stories, the metaphors, the analogies, the beautiful words and phrases, because we have a lot of choice. We're very fortunate in English. English is, I know I'm biased, but English is the best language because it's such a melting pot of different languages. So there's always like a million ways to say single things in English. And alignment of these four things, to me, makes up what I would term a real speaker. Now, this is almost never broken down. Almost never broken down. And I'm quite tight for time, but you can probably identify for yourselves which one of those is a strength and which one of those is an area for development straight away. So I'm going to show you my framework, and even the people that are on my course have not seen this framework yet, because for the first time I put this in a sort of visual picture. So I teach my framework called REAL, and it stands for Ready to Connect, which is the mindset piece, which is the what you mean. Engaging through presence, voice and presence, which is the how you speak. Anchored in confidence, which is the how you feel. And leading the conversation, which is the what you say. Now the graphic may change. This is my mock-up. So we've got ready to connect, engaging through presence, anchored in confidence, leading conversation. If you get all of those aligned, you will be speaking as the real you. Now I won't go through these for time, but if you just give this a scan, you will see what I mean. The intersection of a mind and a steady nervous system. So the interaction of being ready to connect, but also anchored properly in your body, grounded in your body. The intersection of that is steady in self-trust, both your mind and your body. Self-trust. Do you see how this works? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is what I teach in my program, because it is so important to me. Saying what you mean as the intersection of the mindset and the voice and the leading element. How many of us come away from things and think, oh God, that didn't come out right. I said that in the wrong way. You know, it's really hard. Speaking is really, really, really hard. So this is my attempt to Kennedy's Latin primer it, to break it down, because so many of us have just gone through life picking up bits and bobs. The odd book, the odd webinar. Your boss gives a great talk, you think, oh, I'll do it like that next time. You see a TED talk, you think, oh God, she was great, I'll do it a bit like that. We pick up all this stuff. It sort of works, but actually, if you take it apart, if you look at it, and you think, what am I good at? What am I developing at? So that's why it's done like this. This is why I teach it this way. Speaking in real rooms with real people is already now in 2026, and it'll only get worse. Already the only guarantee of reality. The age of AI requires us to bring our humanity to the fore. It requires us to once again rediscover speaking. The Romans knew it. The Romans did nothing but train for speakers. We need to rediscover speaking as the pinnacle of human expression. What are you going to do this week, this month, this year? What are you going to do to improve your speaking and the way you show up in person in this new world?